you are. Welcome to Kenya Data Platform User Group. And if you can hear me clearly and see my screen, kindly a thumbs up. If you can hear me clearly and you can see the screen, a thumbs up. Thank you, Priya. Okay, welcome again. This is Kenya Data Platform User Group. My name is Dennis Washira. I'm a community lead of this user group, and other community leads are on the call. We shall say hi at the end of the meeting, and we can get started on this today's session. And before we start, it's always we always have a code of conduct, like we always urge to treat everyone with respect, kindness, and empathy. Also use our welcoming and inclusive language, and also be thoughtful in how we communicate, both in person or online, and also avoid being destructive or inflammatory. And finally, gracefully accept constructive criticism, and also listen with purpose, and create space for others' communication preferences. TypeScript provides powerful ways to store data and manage structured data using arrays, tuples, and objects. These data structures help us organize, retrieve, and manage, manipulate data efficiently. And today we're going to explore what they are, why they matter, and how we to use them effectively in TypeScript. And these structures form the foundation of data handling in the TypeScript. And arrays allows us to store multiple values of the same data type efficiently, while tuples provide a structured way to store a fixed ordered data, ensuring a specific type at each position. And finally, objects, they are the backbone of a TypeScript application. So they store data as a key value pairs, mimicking the real-world entities like users, maybe product or an API responses. And these structures are widely used across different applications. For instance, like arrays are used for managing lists, like a collection of users, maybe or product. Then tuples, they help when working with a fixed structured data, like maybe coordinate, which has an X and Y. So a tuple would work the best in such case. Then objects, so they are essential for defining entities like a user profile, then API responses, and database model. Like an example, imagine an e-commerce website where we have a cart. So the cart, it stores multiple items, and the best data structure application would work there. It's an array. Then we have a product stock availability. So you can represent this stock availability with a tuple where you have only two values, the size and the quantity. Then a customer profile under that e-commerce, you can use the object to store that user data, like that as a key value, like the name, age, address, maybe such kind of things. And arrays, as I said, they are collection of values of the same data type, and can hold any data type like numbers, strings, objects, or even other arrays. And this is an example of how you declare variables, I mean arrays in TypeScript. So you may have the declaring the array name, then typing with the data type you want, then using the square bracket to indicate like it's an array. Then you can initialize it with values. Then the other way, it's using the generic way, like using the keyword array, then the type of that, the data type of arrays you want. Then also arrays support some of the inbuilt methods, like you can do map, you can do filter, you can do reduce, and this makes the data transformation easy. And like for instance, it's an example where I'm using filter inbuilt method to get a score that is greater than 50. So we'll be able to explore this in a demo. So let's continue. And a tuple, it's an ordered fixed length array where each position has a specific type. And unlike regular arrays, tuples do not allow inserting extra elements beyond the defined structures. So that's the key difference between an array and a tuple. Both of them are arrays, but tuple can store multiple different data types and also has a specific length of that tuple. And other use cases, as I said, it's perfect for database records where you have a specific rows in your database, then coordinate pairs like X and Y, and also an HTTP response format. And this is an example of how you declare a tuple. So same as array, but with now specifying the number of items you want to include in your tuple. So this is an example. My car has a car name which is of data type string, and the year that the car was made, which is 2020. And if you want to console log that on console, so you have to use the index of each element in that tuple so that you can get the response. Then if you want to update any item in the tuple, you have to use the square bracket, the index of where you want to update that. And finally, object. So collection of key value pairs representing real world entities. And an example of them, it's like a person or user profile. So a person may have a name. So key is the name, value is this Dennis. Then another key is age, value is 25. Then we can have a key of array like hobbies. It's an array of what he likes, coding, cooking. Then the role. So I'm a student, I'm a blogger, and such kind. The same with a car. So a car is an object. So you type it with a type object, which has now the key value the same. So a brand of type string, year of type number, then model of type string. Then you initialize your object with the values. And that's the end of the presentation. Let's dive into the VS Code and work around with these data structures in TypeScript. I hope up to that we have trying to understand the conceptual theory of the arrays, tuples, and objects. So if you have any question, we'll have time at the end of the session so that you can get to discuss and answer your question. Or you can drop it on the chat. We have a team of Brian, Kevin. They can help by responding to those questions on the chat. So if you are with me and you can see my VS Code, let me have a thumbs up, please. Thank you, Ryan. So, last Wednesday, we stopped at looking at the different data types, mostly the primitive data types in TypeScript, and we are able to explore the string, the numbers, able to do some operations like string interpolation, simple mathematics, we use the booleans to check conditions, and also we're able to use now the special types in TypeScript, which is unknown, never, and void. And that's where we stopped. So today it's about data structure, arrays, tuples, and object. So I want now to create an extra file in our source folder, and the name it like let me right click here and create a new file, and I want to call it data structures .ts. Then I save. Then I want to use the keyword export so that I can be able to export this file to our index file. So I use the keyword export, then the const keyword, then the name of this file I want to export. So data structures. Then I use arrow function, though we have not covered functions. That's a session on next week or the other week. So, but I want to use the arrow function so that I can be able to export this function here. So it's equals, then greater than, then open curly braces. And now, so my file is now available to be used on other files. So I want to import that file in this index folder file. So I just want to come here down, then I use the import keyword. That is the ES module, where you import files on any JavaScript framework. So, and what do I want to import? It's this data structures file, named component file. So it's data structures from this the current the current directory, then the file I want to do this. Then I want to comment these variables, and also to comment this console, and also this variable here. Then I want now to have the same console.log here, saying like is this for data structures. So data structures. Then I want to call now this function here at the bottom. So data structures, then parentheses. And now I want to test whether my file was imported correctly. So let me just use a console.log, and just a message to say like welcome to data structures. So I hope now everything is okay. Let me go to my terminal, and if this is your first time joining this, we have the previous recording on how to do your folder structuring, and also to leverage some of this dev dependency called TSX, where now we have this script to start our project. So I will use my package manager, which is pnpm, then run dev to see whether everything is working correctly. So let me close some of these files. So let me wait for the project to spin up. Just a second. Yeah, so you can see our file is working well. We have this a console, which is data structures. Then welcome to data structures is coming from our file, which is this console log line here. So we can now verify that our file is important correctly in our index.txt file. So let's get started with these data structures. And the first one is arrays. And we say it's like it stores the same data type values conveniently and efficiently. And the way to do this, we always have the two key ones that we use to declare any variable or object in JavaScript or TypeScript, which is let and const. But for now, I'll use let. So I have the let keyword, then the name of arrays I want. So the name of arrays I want is obis. And these obis are of type string. So I want to type them with type string, and then use the square bracket to indicate like it's an array. Then I want to initialize this array with some values. So I open a square bracket, then the first string of the first obj, which is like maybe sports, then cooking. I love cooking. Then finally, coding. So this is the first way of declaring arrays in TypeScript or JavaScript. The other one is using the generic way, like using the keyword array to indicate like this array. So let me declare arrays with the other format, which is let maybe use another array. So rows. So rows, I want to type it with a string. Also, it will be a string. So array, then the keyword array, then this greater than and less than symbols. Then at the middle, I indicate like they are of type string. Then the same, I initialize them with some values. So square bracket, the first one. So a role can be an admin. You can be a user, normal user, or you can be a super admin. So these two ways of declaring variables are arrays in TypeScript. So use either the square bracket way or the keyword array, then the type of that arrays you are declaring. So if it's numbers, we indicate here numbers. Like if I want to declare arrays of numbers, I can say let even numbers be of type numbers. Then I initialize it with these even numbers. So 2, 4, maybe 6, 8, and 10. Something like that. So I have to answer a square bracket there, so indicate like it's an array. And if you want to display this on the console, it's so easy. So I can just have this as a message here, which is just TypeScript arrays. Then if I want to display these items on a console, there are so many ways, but the first one is using the console, then the index of each array, the index of each array position at that array data structure. So I can use the console. So console log dot log, then bracket. So I want to use the string interpolation, so the backticks, so that I can dynamically display these arrays on my console.log function. So the backticks. Then I just need to have a string saying like hobbies. Then I use the $sign, then curly braces, then the first element of this array. So I'm trying to display this array. So I want to call these arrays here, this array here, hobbies here. Then I want to output the first element. So arrays uses something called index. So to position your items, like this is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2. So I want now to display the first index of this array. So hobbies, then use the square bracket, then the index 0. So this will display the first value here. And if you can see clearly on our console, it has already console logged the first element of this array, which is sports. So if I want to display the next, so I just need to have a comma, then the same thing, $sign, curly braces, hobbies, array hobbies, then index 1. It will be the index 1 is cooking. You can see it at the console here. Then the last one, which is now index 1, index 2, which is coding. So $sign, curly braces, hobbies, index 2. And that way you have displayed your array in the console at each position. So this might be tiresome if you have like maybe a million items in your array. So this way, it's not the efficient way displaying data into when working with arrays. So we can leverage some of the inbuilt functions in TypeScript and JavaScript to display these arrays, like using now a map function. So if I come here down here and call this, let me now we try to output these numbers here using some inbuilt functions, which like we have map. So if I call these even numbers here, so even numbers, then I use the dot. So I'll be able to see all the functions that I can be able to operate and manipulate these arrays here. So I can use symbol, maybe add, I can concatenate two arrays using this concatenate, then I can copy with entry. So for me, these are all of them, like you can include for each index. So for now, I want to use this function here called map. So map, it's like looping through those elements and displaying each element at each position of that array. So I want to use this map. So I use that map. So it's a function. So I need to use the parentheses. Then what do I want to map? So I want to map even number. So as one number each. So I can call it like even number, but with a single letter, because I want to map each of these even numbers as one number, like one number at each time. Then I use the arrow way to display each number on this function. So at here inside, I want to display those numbers. So I can now use console.log. Then what do I want to display? So I like using string interpolation. So I use the parentheses, then the backticks, so that I can be able to dynamically call any variable and display it on this console log message. So I want to display this message here. So even number. So even number. So it's one number, so it's not number. So even number, because I'm mapping through. So even number, then the $sign, then the curly braces, and now call this number here, which now we are this bar we are looping through. So you can see the error is gone, and we can see on our console log, we have been able to map through, like to loop through this array, like map what it does. So it goes through this array, get the first index, displays the value. Get the second index, displays the second value. So this is easy way than this, because maybe when you have more than 100 or even 20 arrays, we don't want to keep on typing, like displaying each element like manually. So you can leverage this inbuilt function, and if you want to see those functions, you just need that variable, like maybe that array, then use the dot. The IntelliSense will be able to get all the functions that you can perform inside that arrays. So that's how you leverage or manipulate or you console any array using maybe the index or using the inbuilt function like map to display your values of array in console. So I can now filter. So let's try to do a filter. So a filter is easy one. It's just an easy. So I want to have an example here of arrays of scores. So a scores of type number, I have 40, 55, 75, 85, and 90. And I want to filter to tell like a passing mark or passing score should be greater than 50. So I'll declare a new variable here. So which is let maybe a passing score be what? Be these scores here. So these scores there. Then what I want to do is to filter. So if I use dot, then I'll be able to see this function here, filter. And filter is a function, so you need to use the parentheses. And what do you want to do? So to filter each score. So now it's singular of this, so the singular of this array. So because I want to filter each element of that array. So each score, which is of that score, which is greater than 50. Yeah, so which is greater than 50, that should be a passing mark of this, should be a passing score. Then I want to display this passing score. So if you want to display that, so you just need to use the console log, then display this passing score. So if I pass those passing score, so anything that is greater than 50, it will be displayed. So 40, it's not on our array values here, because our score, we are saying like anything that is of greater than 50. And those two of functions that we can use to manipulate our arrays. And last one, before we get into tuples, I just want to do some push and pop on array. So I have this, let me comment this. Let me comment all these. Comment. So I want this arrays here, hobby. So we have the sport, we have the cooking arrays of hobbies. So sport, cooking, and cooking. So I want to push an extra, like to push something in this array, and what and how do you do that? So I use I don't know. So let me delete this so that you can be able to see the array at the top. So we have this array here, hobbies, and I want to push an extra uh, value to this hobby array. And how do you do this? So I just call this array hobbies, then use the dot to get all the functions that are in this I can perform on this array. So if I scroll down, I'll be able to see this function here, which is push. So push is to add an element at the end of this array. So I want to push what? An extra hobby. So push is a function. So you need to use parentheses. And what do I want to push? An element there, and maybe another element which is reading. So reading. So with this, I have added a new element in this array, and if I can console log that. So let me copy this console here. So which is now like a console log when I've added a hobby there. So hobby. And you can see on our console, we have now the sport, cooking, coding, and reading. And if you want to know like it's working, if I console log before pushing, so if I this console log is just above here. So console log and before pushing, let me just say before pushing, you'll be able to see like the first array does not have reading because this function it's operated when how the TypeScript or JavaScript code is executed. It's from top to bottom. So this code is executed before this code. So before this was run, we had not added this array element in that hobby. So, and after this, now we have added this, we'll be able to see like we have now an extra array element in our hobby array. And that's what some of the inbuilt functions you can perform on arrays. So there are so many, but we not focus on most of them because so if you want to explore the others, just make sure to check them on any array. If you use the hobbies, then you use dot, you'll be able to get all the functions you can perform on array. You can use reduce, you can slice. So slice is like extracting or modifying array. Then we have like something to do with find, so find index. So these are easy things to work on, like an example here, which is I have like an array of colors, and if I want to extract a color between 1 and 3, I can leverage this slice function. So, and I want to just to display the first the colors between 1 and 3. So the 1 and 3, this is now the index of this green and blue, because this is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2, this is index 3. So slice will display between now index 1 and 2, but 3 will not be displayed. So let me test this, and if I console console selected colors, I will be able to see only green and blue are being displayed because I'm slicing from here So yeah, this is what is being displayed. So index 0 and index 3, they are being chopped away from our array element. And let's go on tuples. So also tuples, we have the same operations like in array, but on a different way, because tuples have a specific length, and also you work with positions. So tuples, let me declare a tuple here. So it's just a message. Then my tuple is my car. So my car has of type array, and inside that array, we have now the string and the number. So this string number, it denotes the maybe my car name, like the car model. Then this number denotes the model year of that car, and I'm initializing them with now the values, like my car is Toyota and it was made in 2020. And if you try to alternate these values, you get an error. Like if you try to initialize this value, like my car, maybe update these values, and if you want to, if you try to update them, then I start with the number 2020, then the string Toyota. This is an error, so this will run to an error. Why? Because we work with the specific position and data type of each element in a tuple. And you can see like a type number is not assignable to string, because here we started with a string. The same here, like string is not assignable to type number, because we have alternated this. So please check on that. And we always work with the specific number, length, and also positions. So position matters. Each element must be on the exact position at each position in each on that tuple. So let me comment out that. And doing that, console logging is the same as array. So you use now the value, the array name, then the position you want to output, like this. It's you are getting now the Toyota, and now the index 1, which is our year, which is 2020. And if I want to update each element in that array tuple, it's the same. So I use the tuple name, which is my car, then square bracket and index of element you want to update. So I want to update the model year. So it's at index 1 here. So at index 1, I want it to update this to 2024. So, and if I console log that, my car will be updated to 2024. If you just look here, so this is the first where we initialized with 2020, then the second one with 2024. And also you can declare a read-only tuple. So a read-only tuple, you cannot update it. So you use something like let maybe my car2 it's of type read only. So read only, then also it's of type string, then a number, then initialize it with values. So which is Toyota, then comma 2020. So these are read only tuple. And if you want to check that, if you want to check, you can try to update and you see whether the update will be able to work. So if I call this my car2, then I try to update this, maybe the index 1, the model year, and assign it to a new value, which is maybe 2025 or 2025, you see like I have an error here saying like cannot assign to index 1 because it's a read-only property. So once you declare your tuple as a read-only, you cannot be able to update any value there. So that's all about read-only in tuple. And the next one, the same, it's also a special feature which is optional element in array in tuples. So I can have this example here, which is employee. So this employee has 3 elements, which is a string, a number, and also a string. And this string has a question mark at the end. So this denotes like this is an optional element at this array. And by doing this, so I may or not initialize this value. So employee, maybe this is the first name. So this is John, the first name, the number, the year, then maybe this string here is the maybe the position is a manager or what. So because it's optional, I don't need to include it on my initialization of this tuple. And if I console log this will be okay. No errors will be console log because string the last element is optional. So you can see like here we have displayed them well. And because this is optional, I can update or do anything with it. So if I try to update that, so maybe it's at index 2. So employee, let me update it with a value. Now employee 2, employee, then the index of that element, which is 2, and update it with now a value, which is maybe as a manager. And now output this the new updated employee tuple. So console.log employee. You'll be able to see now the second one has now manager, and the first one does not have the manager element because this element at this position is optional. You can include it or discard it. So it works like that. And the last one, let's talk about object. So I'm just brushing through the simple methods and how you can perform those methods on arrays, tuples. Then let's go back to object. So object, we said these are key value data structure. They always work to simulate or real-world objects. So objects, and just have a single console log dot there. Displaying like this is TypeScript object. Then we said there are 2 ways of declaring objects in TypeScript or JavaScript. So you can declare an object and initialize it with the value at the same point, or you can declare the object, then assign data later. So I'll start with the first one, which is now declaring, typing it, and all that. So const. I want to start with maybe an employee or person. So a person is a real world entity. So let me use person. Then this is how you declare an object. So it's const, then the name of that object, then assign it to, and open curly braces upon that object. So this object is a key value object, so pair. So the first name, the first key I want to add is a name, then give it a name. So this is Dennis, then a comma. The next key, maybe my age, full colon, then my age, it's around 25, then hobbies. So hobbies is an array. So I just want to have those hobbies here. Then open a square bracket because I have array of hobbies. So the first one is cooking. Cooking, then the next one is maybe swimming. Then the role. So I have some roles, the same as an array. So which is the first one, I'm a student, then comma, and also maybe a developer. So this is how you declare an object and initialize it with values, but we have not typed these objects. So we need to come back here and type this object. So the same way, so if full colon, then open curly braces to indicate it's an object. So this object has keys. So we need to type these keys now. So the first one is name. So the first key is name. So I need to include it here. So name. Name is of type string. String, then comma. And the next one is age. So age is of type number. Then we have hobbies. Hobbies. Hobbies is of type what? Array. So it's string. So I can use the first way of using the square bracket, then the type of that array. Then the same as rows. So rows, the same is string of array. So, and with that now, we have fully typed our object. So later on, we come to learn about efficient way of typing our object using interfaces. So that will come later, interfaces and also type alliances. So, but for now, this is how you type your object. Then this is the first way you declare, then initialize with values. The other way, it's just you declare the object. So maybe let car be of type what? An object. Then the first key I want is a brand. So a brand is a string. Then the year which the vehicle was made. So it's of type number. Then the model. So the model is a string. So a string. So this year I've just declared the object, but I need now to initialize it with value. So I just need to come down here and call now my car and use the assignment operator, then the curly braces to assign these values to this car. Then the first one was brand. So brand is Toyota. Then the second one is the year the car was made, which is 2024, then comma, then the model. So the model of this Toyota, maybe it's a V8. And now that's the two way of declaring object. So the first way is declaring and initializing with the values directly, or the other one is declaring the object and initializing and assigning it data later on in your project, or the work you are doing. And we want now to access these values on our object. And there are two ways of accessing these objects, these values of this object. And the first one is dot notation. So if I want to, let me minimize this. So if I want to access the first element of this object person, I can use the dot operator. So, and how do I use dot operator? So I'll use dot operator. So I'm console-logging this element. So console log dot log, then the dot operator. So the log is a function, so it's a function. Then the object I want to access its element, its person, this object here, person. Then I want to use the dot operator to access the element using now the dot notation. So it's person dot. And using the dot, now you'll be able to see all the elements in this person. And I want now to access the name. And by doing so, the name is already displayed on our console here. So that's the first way of displaying an element or accessing a property in a object. The other one is bracket notation. So it's the same way, but now a different using the bracket. So console log dot log, then log with a function. So the same object person, then instead of dot, it's now bracket notation. Then the key I want to access, which is now I have to use the double quotes and assign it the property, the key I want to access, which is a name. And with these two, you'll be able now to access the same way, the same property on this person object. And you can see here we are displaying the same thing, because the first one, you are accessing the key name using the dot notation, and the second one, we are using the bracket notation to access the same key, which is now the name of this person, which is Dennis. And with that, if you want to update this any element in any property in this object, is as simple as this. So we just need to call that object. So it's person. Then the one way of updating, I like the dot notation. So they have no difference, but a dot notation, I find it convenient on my side. So person dot name, then assign it a new name. So I may assign it Brian. And if I console log now this person dot name on my object dot log, then person dot name dot name, I'll be able to get now our updated name is Brian, not Dennis, because this is the last line of this code. Remember, TypeScript or JavaScript, the code is executed from top to bottom. The other one, we can have, as we wind up, so we can have a nested object. So a nested object is like having an object inside another object. So we can have this const user. So this user, I want to type it, to type in with some keys here. So full colon, then the curly braces. So I want this person to have a first name. So a first name, string or string, then comma. Then I want him to have age, which is of type number. Then I want him to have color. So, but color, I want him to be an optional element. So I use color, then question mark to indicate it's a optional element. So you may include or not. It will be okay. So of type string. Then address. So address is another object of a city and maybe a country. So address of type object also. So I want to type it now with an object. This is now a nested object inside an object. So I open another curly braces, and address, I want this to have two key, which is now country of type string, then maybe city of that person, which is now the same as a string. And I just want to initialize with some values here. So let me open that curly braces there. Then the first name to be John. Then the second one is age. Age. It might be maybe 30, then comma. So color. Color, remember, it's optional. So we can include it or not. So let me just include it. So dark, point note here. So let me just comment here. This is an optional element. So you may include or not, but so optional property. Then the other one is a nested object of address. So address, it's an object. So I need to open it now and add the element there. So which is now city, or I can start with country. Country is maybe Kenya, then comma city, which is Nairobi. And that way you have now your nested objects. And if you want now to access the child of this, or the nested key of this object, is the same way as you use now the dot operator, the dot notation. So you can now use console log dot log, then bracket. So the first is our object, which is user. So user, then dot. So what do I want to access? So address. So I indicate their address. Then under address, what do I want to access? So you get, I have now the city there. And with that, you'll be able to see now the city of this person is Nairobi. And I can see we are past time, and I wish to stop at this point, unless you have a question. So if you have a question, clarification, or feedback, the floor is open to see how we can help you, or anything we can improve on these sessions. So this is our fourth session on TypeScript 101 series. So we have done with the introduction, TSX. The Wednesday we did variables, and now it's data structures. So any question, any feedback, you may raise your hand and maybe unmute and ask any question. Guidance means people are okay. At this point, maybe I just want to.
Excuse.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so that was a very insightful session. I've
Yeah,
learned a couple of things. Thank you for that. Um, I had joined the session a bit late,
yeah,
so I don't know. Last time, the last session you had mentioned about we should create PRs on the submissions that you taught us last time.
Yeah,
I did that, and I'm yet to
yeah.
get feedback on that.
Oh, so don't worry. I'm still checking on the PRs. You can see I have around 2 or 3 PRs to be reviewed. So they will be reviewed in the course of the weekend, and maybe by Monday we'll get your response.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's all.
thank you. So at this time, maybe uh, community lead of Kenya Data Platform from Kevin, Brian, Fresher, you can say hi as we wind up.